Yeah, perfect. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Um, I will speak today on non-lamellar lipid systems and emerging nanoformulations. So, let me tell you one thing. I have been working in these non-lamellar systems since about a while. So, since about 15 years. But formulation scientist I have become very recently. I started my PhD in 2005 at Imperial College. That is when I started working with lipids. I studied phase behavior of lipids, self-assembled nanostructures, characterize them using small angle X-ray scattering, and so on. So the goal was to understand the solubility and crystallization of membrane proteins. But later on, I moved to Graz, where I did some work on formulation. So we had some collaborative project with Nestle as well. So we prepared some different types of creams later on. But actually, when I established my group, I worked with various fundamental problems. But about like last 4 years, 4 years ago, my collaborator in South Africa suggested me that like Shekhar, you have developed some expertise in lipids, so why don't you utilize it to develop some drug formulations? Because these lipids can be very useful for addressing problems in pharmaceutical industry, because these can be used for particularly insoluble molecules where they're not soluble in water, and that's a challenging task. So slowly I started working over it, and actually he himself sent me a sample from South Africa. He synthesized some molecules which were potent against malaria, usually particularly resistant malaria. And when he sent it, I tried to optimize my system, lipid system in water, and I was actually able to dissolve it. And he said, okay, this is exactly what formulation is all about. You need to really start solubilizing systems first, and then later on try to optimize and see if you can get better bioavailability. So what I'm going to tell you today is slowly how I developed formulations. We developed some novel systems, and recently we developed some high value formulations. So let's get started with sort of lipids. I think being a formulation forum, I think you know what lipids are, but let me tell you, these are simply like fatty acids or some derivatives, and these ones are amphiphilic. So what it means is they some a part of molecule likes water and part of molecule dislikes water. And this is actually very nice because it is unique property which makes them self-assemble in water. And the self-assembly starts very at very simple level. So it starts like, let's say, you take water and put oil on them, and oil on it, and then it starts floating on it. It starts like a monolayer or a multi-layer there. But just extending from that, people developed liposomes or vesicles, and these are, I think, quite familiar to almost everyone. So these are model cells, and these are also popular drug carriers. And over there you see that there is only one bilayer, and inside there is a huge water reservoir. Okay, so this is sort of one example of a drug carrier. But much more than that, we can develop some systems which could be called like self-assembled nanostructures. Why nanostructures? Because if you see the dimensions of, for example, this phase, this is a lamellar phase, and it's a liquid crystalline phase. So it is the viscosity, for example, is in between the liquid and solids, as well as you have ordered system there, so partially ordered system. So the dimensions are usually similar to the native bilayer in the cells. So like cell bilayer is about 2 to 4, about 4 nanometer, 40 angstrom. So not only these ones, but there are several self-assembled nanostructures one can have, and that all starts at molecular level. So you see, molecules usually, for example, if you have monoglyceride with one chain, you can have a cylindrical shape, which is in the middle. You can see it may have a diglyceride, or it could be triglycerides. And triglycerides usually are found in food materials, food applications. Um, Conical are usually where there is a large head group, and those ones will form different self-assembly. Inverse conicals will form are usually examples of lipids, and you can see when mixed with water, they form different types of self-assemblies. And this is how the self-assembled systems will be. On the left-hand side, you can see these are type one. It means, for example, pluronic or detergents, your SDS, Triton X, they will form these left-hand side L1 or H1 sort of self-assemblies. The lamellar one comes in the middle, and it also has its own polymorphs. It has crystalline or gel or rippled, different types of polymorphs based on the viscosity, fluidity, sort of, okay, and the ordering. But What we are mainly interested is in non-lamellar phases. That is on which I'm working since a while. So why they are so interesting? Because you can see that these are like 2 or 3 dimensional phases. They have aqueous channels inside, and they are quite ordered. Even you can define these IM, 3M, PN, 3M, and IA3D, these cubic phases, you can define using a mathematical equation, because they are based on a mathematically minimal surfaces. So that is why they are elegant, but they are much more elegant because of some other reasons. I will tell you in a minute. These all self assemblies, where they are, you can see that they are available in several daily life applications. So you can have a look. They are in foods, several applications like cosmetics, pharmaceutical applications, but they are also available in inside our body, in cells. They form compartments. There are hybrid materials. Actually, they contain lipids, as well as we have developed some hybrid materials, and I will tell you those. Much more than that, as I said, they are involved in applications, but they are also involved in biological entities. So you can see that these 0, 1D, 2D, and 3D self assemblies have quite common with cells. So we have A, B, C, D, sort of, these are organelles, and these are biomembrane organelles. These are intracellular membranes, and they have something similar. And just to prove that, somebody has done this work earlier. So this IA3D and PN3M, they are based on mathematically minimal surfaces. If we take a projection on that, like 2D projection, it looks like this. And if these projections are compared with the high resolution electron microscopy images, then you can see that S, which is a sinusoidal, so that sinusoidal membrane looks similar to these G and D phases. And there is a lamellar as well. So the lamellar, hexagonal, and these ones. But so what? I mean, there is a quite resemblance. Yes, that's fine. But how is it useful for formulations? So let me tell you one thing. Like, these liposomes, of course, we know that these are model cells. These are good as nanocarriers. But here, as I mentioned earlier, there is a huge reservoir of water. So you can dissolve aqueous water-soluble molecules there. But if you want to dissolve hydrophobic molecules, you are limited with just the bilayer. But if you form some phases from these non-lamellar systems, hexagonal, MT3, and so on, what do you have there? You have particle which is equivalent of the size of liposomes, but you have interior which is made up of hydrophobic part. You can load a lot of hydrophobic molecules there. Moreover, these are food grade materials, the lipids. They are biocompatible, they are naturally abundant and biogenic. So that is good. Then you can control them, their nanoscale architecture. You can fine tune the composition, and that will allow you to tune the nanoscale structure. Then there is a good diversity of self assembly. You can fine tune, you can solubilize amphiphilic, hydrophobic, as well as hydrophilic. I mean, there are aqueous channels, so you can also put hydrophilic model. So you can do multiple drug loading. And moreover, we are expert in this area since working in since about 15 years. So we thought, okay, let's develop something from them. So there are special properties. I mean, these already have properties of liposomes, but they have properties of some special properties. And I have listed some, but I'm not going to go into details of all of those. But some red ones, the highlighted in red, you can see that there are similar structures in nature. And how is it beneficial? Because they won't be toxic. They won't be considered toxic by the body, and they enhance the permeability of from through the skin, and as well as they will be absorbed very nicely when if you dissolve drug in them. Okay, so they have a high lipid volume per particle. It means you can have a high loading of hydrophobic molecules. There is a good potential to achieve high potency, and so many other advantages. Okay, so then based on this sort of platform, we started working on developing different formulations. So we started with comparing systems first. So what we did is we had a lipid cubic phase, which is very viscous, and this is liquid crystalline phase as well. And that viscous phase is usually difficult to handle, sometimes usually by like robot. Robots are meant for liquids. The previous presentation and current advances in the technology allow you to use viscoelastic systems and varied systems. But earlier it was not possible. So we thought, that's why these liquid crystalline phases are usually transformed into fluid emulsions. So those are called as cubosomes. So our first work was to compare these two systems. We just took a model drug, aspirin, and try to make a drug release setup and analyze. I'm not going to show you much data because I want to show you more of different formulations. So this is sort of comparison we did, and we published that work earlier in Langmuir. So this was a drug carrier. Then we thought, okay, lipids are usually very expensive to buy. I mean, if they're okay for research scale because companies, you can work with them and you can get some free samples. But if you really want to develop some application, you need to consider about like price. So we thought, okay, let's use something which is available in foods. So we started working with butter and butter oil and developed some formulations. So when we developed some formulations, when we emulsified them, they were not stable. But when we started using several surfactants, we got some stability over it. These surfactants are grass grade as well as they are cosmos grade. So they are okay to be used in cosmetics as well as in pharmaceutics area. And there are certain advantages. I mean, they are cheap and abundant source of lipids. They are food themselves food. That's why there is no worry about the toxicity and so on. So we developed that and we published that work earlier in Journal of Food Processing and Preservation. Then we thought, okay, let's use something else which is already in the body, and we use bile salts. So we combine lipids with bile salts, and bile salts, of course, you may know that they are useful to help a body to digest the food, particularly food fats. So what do they do? The first role is to emulsify food fats. What the viscous phases are transformed into fluid phases, but while doing that, they convert into smaller particles so that lipase can attack. But during this work, we found one another interesting observation. Then we found another role of bile salts, completely new role. It was like conversion into simple structure. So you can see on the left hand side there is IM3M phase, and which is very viscous. But when we mix those with bile salts, those phases were converted into liposomes. And in case of liposomes, of course, you know there is only bile layer, and that can be easily attacked by lipase rather than the viscous phase. So this was the second role which we understood. So this we are trying to use, this information we are trying to use in new formulations which we are developing these days. Then we prepare some hybrid nanometers. They are a little bit away from really into like a product, but they are challenging. They are promising. So what we did is we use kappa-carrageenan hydrogel, mix them with lipid particles, and developed a thin film, which is you can see in number 2 here. Okay, so and then we just loaded a drug, model drug, and started studied the release. You can see that the native one, if you don't use lipid particles, you get this red curve there. So not efficient release, and it just saturates. The drug doesn't want to come out. But if you have lipid particles, it is there. It comes in stepwise manner. So first one, you can see that it comes because when a drug the hydrogel starts swelling, it releases the drug, but then it just keeps swelling. But later on, when it starts dissolving, the gel hydrogel starts dissolving, lipid particles come out, and then they start releasing. So you see there is a sustained release. It is like a very slow release for about like 19-20 minutes. So it was pretty long, and that was better compared to just native hydrogel. So this sustained release, we just published that work, but we are trying to develop that into products these days. Then we prepared two new systems. One was with carbon nanotubes and another was with fullerenes. And they are usually they are controversial because these are organic matter, and people really don't like to use carbon nanotube for drug delivery. So at least with these two applications, we were successful in reducing the toxicity, or I would say increasing the biocompatibility of these two materials. So we published that work, but we are trying to find some innovative applications of them. Perhaps not oral delivery, but we can use somewhere else. Then in University of Graz, we developed a customized machine here. So what we have is this was to develop creams. And we have very simple setup. We have just hydrophilic phase. It was only water. And very interestingly, no stabilizer. So no surfactant. And lipophilic phase, which contain lipid or maybe lipid plus some oil, like almond oil or tea tree oil or limonene, various oils we used. And just to develop different applications, you can see that it comes in pre-mixing chamber, goes to the main chamber, which is rotated horizontally with 100 micrometers gap and 100 to 200 micrometer, and then you can get like very nice cream. The beauty of this cream is that we have about 50 to 90% water, and with some modification, we were able to get 97.5% water. So just imagine like 5 to 10% or like 2.5 to 10% lipid, which is usually expensive, and we have 90% water. So it's very nice moisturizing cream, and you can load hydrophilic, hydrophobic, and amphiphilic molecules there, which include fragrances. So we developed these, and my supervisor who was there in Otto Glatter, he wrote a patent on it, and then now it is open for innovation further into products. So we studied their structural hierarchy. This was confocal microscope. You can see how the reservoir, water reservoirs in there. But interesting thing was this yellow part, which was lipid film, it contained hexagonal phase. And we can fine tune, we can have cubic phase or lamellar phase or something else. So these are the bottom one are water in oil emulsions, but we were able to prepare oil in water emulsions that I told you earlier. These are cubosome solutions, right? So moving from that, we prepared some high value formulations because we thought, okay, we really need to be applied, and we need to utilize this knowledge. So we developed formulations from curcumin, and if you see in last 5 years, there have been hundreds to thousands of papers on curcumin. Okay, because curcumin is useful against so many diseases, and many new applications are coming in during this COVID situation. In last 1.5 years almost, I mean, there have been several papers on checking curcumin for COVID applications. But the inherent problem with that is it is not soluble. If it is soluble, it is not bioavailable. So it was used as an immune booster during COVID era. And then it is because of two main things, like therapeutic properties. And nowadays, the new application people have found is signs of aging. You can combat with that. So we developed these formulations, and we are trying to tackle the problem of bioavailability. We have got good results. We are in final stages of submitting this patent. And you can see there is a good market on it. There is 32.11 million, $11 million dollars increase in recently. And it's a good forecast as well, particularly in North America. So this was one formulation. There is another formulation which we developed is on copper aspirnate, because this is another interesting molecule. And so this is good, and it has good antimicrobial properties. The problem with that is it is not water soluble, and it is not even soluble in organic solvent. It has a little solubility in ethanol, but not even DMSO, chloroform, it is not soluble. So we solved that problem. You can see that it is a very nice gel which we prepared, and this can be a very nice topical application, and we are working on it. And we are trying its properties against MRSA, multi resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and we got good results on that. So we are again preparing another patent on this. So we are trying to solve the problem of solubility, and this can be good for topical applications. So all that work has been was successful because of all my collaborators. So I would like to thank them, as well as I would like to thank funding agencies. And I'm happy to take questions. So thank you for listening, and thank you organizers for providing me an opportunity to speak today.
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting topic, and it's definitely made me see facts in a different way. If we can just take one question, and I'll just take half of one of the questions. Is it possible to take curcumin formulations in jelly forms in the future? Is that the kind of idea?
Yes, actually, this is what we are working on now. So once we finalize this patent, we will work with some collaborators to develop it into jellies, pastels, and some sort of tablets, so they can be taken orally. So that is our main task. And there is a good scalability in these formulations, so they can be scaled up easily.
Right. Thank you very much.